live, you are live.
Good morning and welcome to a moist Sabi Sands. There's fine drizzle in the air and there has been basically the whole night. Not that I was awake, but just judging by the moisture on the ground. But we're all wrapped up and hoping to stay out for as long as possible in these wet conditions. I'm teamed up with VM on camera and Stefan is going to be taking a drive this morning with Andrew. Kirsty and Nikki are in the final control room. Where the animals are, I don't know at this stage, but that is what we are heading out in hope of finding. And if you are joining this live safari for time, welcome on board. And it's important that you know that we are not only live, at WildEarthTV. Now, at this very dry time of year, the moisture is much needed, but sadly this light drip what the bush is hoping for. We need actually some heavy, proper rain, but everything adds up and everything counts, so not too bad. We're going to send you across to Steph now for a quick update on what his plans for the morning are.
Blinking, 3, 2. Oh, good morning from one of the better days for me so far this week. I love these mornings where it's blustery and cold and overcast and a bit windy and a bit damp. It just means for me that summer is right here, and this is my favorite time of the year. I love these wet days, and the reason for it is that everything seems so full of life here in summer. As you may have realized, we are looking at the herd of impala that's on quarantine at the moment, and in particular you're looking at a nursery of young lambs. Now, they don't stay young for very long, I must be honest with you. They grow incredibly quickly. Have a look at those beautiful little faces. As you can see from this shot, it's quite gloomy out here today. It's not quite raining, but it's not quite drizzling. Look in the background over there, you can hardly see the trees in the distance. And that is why the impala are still on this open area. Impala move to open areas during the night. It allows them to see a little bit further, and obviously makes it that much more difficult for predators to sneak up on them. And these impala haven't quite moved into the thickets yet. They're still busy walking to the edge of quarantine clearings. And these young impala lambs are just having an absolute ball. You can see that they group together, and that's so that predators get confused. If a predator had to run into the middle of this group of impala, they'd bombshell away from one another, making it quite difficult to actually choose a particular target. And as impala numbers in the Kruger National Park are at an all-time high, I would say that it's incredibly effective method of looking after your babies is to nursery them together. So these moms, they definitely have it. You can see they're all feeding down the hill, all facing in relatively the same direction. The little one's having a bit of a tussle. And they are what we call precocial youngsters. Now what that means is that the babies are born pretty capable of looking after themselves from very soon after birth. As those of you would have seen, I think it was Friday or Saturday on the screen, the wildebeest that was just born. Impala are born almost the same. Within the first hour of life, they're able to run around, and that is unlike an altricial baby. So the two words that we're looking at there are precocial, which means that they are able to pretty much do what adults do right from birth, or altricial, which means that they are born blind and helpless, and in most cases hairless as well. Now there are benefits to both. Having a precocial baby like this little impala lamb that you're looking at the moment means that you've got a baby that is able to run from fairly soon after birth, able to look after itself from fairly soon after birth, and able to copy what its parents are doing fairly soon after birth. And that is definitely a big benefit from a survival point of view. But it does come with a metabolic cost. It means that you're not really capable of having a lot of babies at any given time. And it also means that you're holding on to your baby for a lot longer than what the alternative would be. And that would be an altricial baby, something akin to what a lion would do. Lions give birth to babies that are not completely hairless, but are helpless at birth. Look at that zebra there in the distance. Also just standing on the open area, enjoying the view that it's afforded him on top of him or her. I'm not quite sure what it is from this angle. How you tell with zebra is you have a look at that stripe that you see under the tail. Due to the hips of female zebra being slightly wider to facilitate childbirth, that stripe, that vertical stripe underneath the tail is slightly wider than what it would be on a male. Male, it's almost like a pinstripe. A female has a slightly wider stripe. But from this particular angle, very difficult to tell whether that's a male or a female zebra. I would imagine, though, that it's a female zebra. Something we'll go and have a look at too. So back to the babies, the altricial and precocial. The benefit of having an altricial baby or altricial youngsters would be that you can have more babies at one time because it doesn't come with the metabolic cost that looking after a baby for a long period of time in your belly comes with. And it also means that you can deliver your baby sooner, which makes it easier if you're hunting. For instance, like a lion can't afford to have one baby in a tummy when you're hunting a thing like a zebra that can kick you in your belly and actually cause your baby some harm. So lions shed their young. Look at that beautiful male impala that just walked through the shot. He's daddy. And he will probably be the father of roughly half of the lambs that you just saw. That's what a fantastic shot. Well done, Andy. Have a look at those two having a bit of a wrestle. So they're on the periphery of this particular herd, and that's what male impala do when they are jousting with one another. This time of the year, nothing too serious. I'm not expecting it to be too serious, at least, although that looks like a pretty good scrap. And you'll notice that they have got, while these two are busy scrapping, have a look at those three stripes on their bum. That's a following mechanism. And Jean has just asked me what has the white stripe on the bum when these have the black stripes on the bum. Jean, the white circle on the bum, or the white following marker, is from waterbuck. That is what an impala's following marker is. And as you can see, the black vertical stripes are fringed in the middle by a white tuft of hair on the tail. And there's a very, very contrasting visual cue to babies that follow their mothers through the bush, and it gives the baby something to aim for as they are chasing through the bush away from predators or moving from one area to another. And you'll see that the female impala, as they walk, every now and again will fluff their tail out and wag it, just like you saw there. You know, and I've made the classic mistake, the amateur mistake of not introducing myself, and Lucy's just reminded me very nicely by saying welcome back. Thank you, Lucy. My name's Stefan, and I'm on drive today with Andrew Francis, and I know I haven't been on camera, especially not on camera in a vehicle, in what feels to me like months right now. But Brent is quite sick this morning. He's got the flu, obviously as a condition of driving around in the wet for the last couple of days. And I thought that it would be a nice thing to get into the car for a change and polish up my rusty gears. So for those of you who are not familiar with me, hello, and I'm glad to be hosting this morning's Sunrise Safari. And please excuse me for any of the mistakes that I may make or creep into the show today. Now, we've got this impala busy feeding straight towards us. I've got a funny feeling that they're heading to the shade of this particular tree. This is a sickle bush tree. But what these impala are going to be aiming for is the grass shoots under the tree. Now, they've just pricked up their heads. There's a hyena calling a couple of 100 yards away. Obviously too far away to be of any real cause of concern for them. And something they would have heard many, many times before. Now, back to why they're feeding towards the shade. Inside this tree, underneath the shade, is the Sabi Sands' one of the Sabi Sands' gems. It's a type of grass that just grows in the shade of trees and will now be sprouting some leaves. This time of the year, the Panicum maximum grass. I think its common name is guinea grass, but there you can see Andrew's on one of them. He's busy flowering. It's that tufted grass just underneath the leaves you're looking at, right in the center of the screen. It is a very, very protein-rich grass. In actual fact, so sweet that we can actually taste the sweetness of the grass, and is something that impala will be heading towards in almost every shady tree. Now, if Andrew pans right, you'll see that the very next tree next to these impala is now being attacked. And they will literally move from shady tree to shady tree to crop off the grass coming through there. Now, not all the impalas have dropped their babies at the moment. Some of the impala would only have been impregnated about a month or so after the majority, and they will give birth to a late flush of babies. Happens every year, and did lead towards the myth that impala were able to withhold their births of their young in dry times. It's not true. It just is a late flurry of mating that happens about a month to six to 8 weeks, from 4 to 8 weeks, let us put it to you that way, after the May rut. And so some of these ladies will give birth in a couple of weeks from now. We'll still see some babies here way into December, maybe even as late as January. Right, now while myself and Andrew reposition ourselves around this herd of impala and potentially get a little bit closer to those zebra, we're going to be sending you through to Scott. He's got some giraffe to show you. See.
So, the first mammal for our vehicle this morning is one of the tallest ones we get here, the giraffe. And this is a lady. As VM zooms into her head, you'll notice she's got little hairy tufts on the top of those horns. There they go. And they're also quite thin. A male's ossicones will be twice as round in diameter. She also seems to have quite a bulging belly. It could well be a young giraffe crumpled up inside there. Isn't it hard to believe that a young giraffe is born 2 meters in height? Hard to believe that gets jammed into the stomach for a 15-month gestation period. And you'll see some very small birds hopping around called oxpeckers, getting their breakfast early this morning, looking for parasites that are sucking the blood from this giraffe. And the food chain is fully in motion here. The giraffe's busy eating. It's busy being eaten by ticks, and those ticks are busy being eaten by the birds. So quite remarkable how everything is happening simultaneously out here. And the giraffe's even going to the toilet. Are you joking? And a little chocolate factory. She makes little round chocolate balls that come shooting out of the rear end. And off she goes. What a beautiful scene. I love watching them walk. They are like supermodels strutting down the catwalk. Looks like she could also possibly be kind of stepping along to a certain song. And ever since Jamie and all of you guys named all the different animals and the possible music or artists that they were listening to, every time I look at an animal I wonder what music it's, what radio channel it's tuned into. Now, and I'm told the giraffes were listening to Taylor Swift. Interesting. Now, speaking of animals and what they might be listening to, I wonder what the Birmingham Coalition of Male Lions would like to listen to, and more importantly, I'd like to know where are they and when are they going to come and visit us. It's been quite some time since those 5 males have come across onto Djuma or Arathusa, and I'm really hoping that in the next few days they come back here to check on their territory, make sure that no males are infiltrating this part of their new home. And all this rain that we're experiencing at the moment may help speed up that process. Animals know that the rain will wash away their scent that has been left in various areas to warn other animals that this is their land. So hopefully the Birmingham males will get onto their territorial markings soon and come back for a visit. The Inkuhuma Pride have also been missing for quite a while. They've been further to the west on Elephant Plains and Sibambili. But both those 2 different sets of lions, one's the pride of lioness and one a coalition of big males. It'd be great to see either of them. They're our main 2 kind of groups of lion that we've been seeing in the relatively recent future. But there's been a massive change in dynamics over the last few months, or at least since I arrived this time last year. What would also be nice, and one thing we haven't discussed for quite some time, is the likelihood of the 2 old males that the 5 young males, the Birmingham males, have recently chased off. And wouldn't it be nice if those 2 males came back to check out their old turf and maybe re-challenge the Birmingham boys for this patch of land? But last I heard they were doing well south of us, those 2 older Matimba males. So we are currently driving our eastern boundary called Cheetah Cut Line. I've never seen a cheetah on it, but some people have. And maybe this morning our luck will change. There haven't been any cheetah sightings called in recently on the surrounding properties, but that'll be another nice big cat to see again. Anyway, we're checking our eastern boundary. We'll probably go all the way up to our northern boundary, and then from there check around Arathusa Cut Line. To Hippie, and very happy to hear that you are enjoying these Walt Disney-like scenes, and very, very happy to have you on board with us. And she's from the Blue Ridge Mountains in California, I think, and it sounds like you also get some beautiful scenery across there, so very happy about that. Good to have you on board with us. But I've seen some tracks here. It's very difficult to see tracks in overcast weather like this, and the soil isn't as soft and muddy as we would like it to be for the animals to leave a clear depression in there. And moving towards me false alarm, sadly. Okay, well, we'll be happy to hear that Steph is still with some impala. Very pretty antelope that a lot of us, I guess, overlook. So I'm glad he's spending some time there with them, and you're about to join him. So see you a bit later.
We decided to stay with this impala herd. There's just a lot going on at the moment. There's babies and there's some males fighting, there's some zebra. It's actually quite a beautiful sighting, and with them being in the open and not in the thick bush yet, we afforded the gift or the luxury of watching them behave pretty much unobscured, although that particular shot that we've got in frame for you right now would suggest otherwise. But just to come back to a previous question, as we left, I didn't quite get to it, but Riley asked what the word precocial means. Riley, from a dictionary point of view, I'm not actually sure what the word precocial means, although I'll be sure to look it up. I've got my reference books with me now. But basically what it defines is a baby that is able to stand and is born almost fully formed, almost a carbon copy of their parents. And you find it in some birds like lapwings. You find it in a lot of insects, not in all insects, but in some insects, grasshoppers for instance. And we find it in impala, amongst other antelope as well, where babies are born in smaller numbers and are born carbon copies of their parents, and also from a very, very young age copy what their parents do. And you'll notice that these little impala, even though they're only a couple of weeks old, are already copying what their parents do. Have a look at that grooming that you're seeing there. Impala have got a special tooth on their bottom jaw that allows them to groom their fur and keep it in very good condition on a day like today, where there's every chance that we actually have a downpour at some point. They will need to have their fur in the best condition possible to give them the best insulation and waterproofing as possible. We've got something walking there. Oh, it's a massive hyena. So these impala have just all had a look up and have alerted me to the fact that something was walking through the bush. And when I scanned over to the right, where Andrew's busy looking at the moment, there's a hyena busy walking through the bush there. Andrew, he'll probably come out over here somewhere. There we go. So we've got our hyena busy loping through the bush. The impala noticed that. It's a spotted hyena, one of the super predators out here, right up there with the lion, and quite possibly at the moment my favorite animal. I am really enjoying hyena. You can see that hyena was probably the hyena that was calling a little bit earlier as well. En route to the den, that is an almost direct vector to the den site. I would have spent most of the evening foraging singly or in a pair, or actually in a foraging group. The more I'm learning about hyena, the more I'm realizing that hyena don't act the same as other animals. They've really got a very, very well developed, very highly developed social structure, and the way that they conduct their business at night time, we actually don't know enough about. But there's a lot of studies being done on it. Me personally, I don't know enough about it because we don't follow them as often as what we need to out here after dark. We're safely ensconced in our camp around the campfire by the time most of the activity around hyenas happen. And like I say, I've been doing quite a lot of research lately on hyena, and I'm just astounded at the complexity of their social structures. But back to these impala, they've once again just seen that. You can see that very alert structure, that posture. Now, you'll see that these babies are starting to group together again. And that's these little nurseries that they form with one another. And actually when they lie down, they're actually incredibly camouflaged. Myself and Andrew were quite surprised just now by how many of these babies stood up from the patch of grass that they were in. And just another one of those massively good survival techniques. You know, these impala, they're actually astounding. We see them as quite common out here, but to be honest with you, they are really successful and need to be applauded as such. Now, Gilly in Wisconsin has asked me, how long do babies nurse for and when do they first start eating grass? Now, Gilly, to be honest with you, at the moment I'm furiously paging through my reference book, and that was why I was quite quiet there while you were asking that question. I am not 100% sure, to be honest with you, but I will find it for you in a second. I've got a vast selection of reference material with me, and the reason why I don't know the answer to your question right now is because we only see impala births once a year. Impalas only give birth once a year, and so I only know that fact for a couple of weeks a year, and then it flits through my memory and disappears. And I'm finding that the older I get, the larger these gaps in my memory are becoming, to be quite honest. I know it's actually quite embarrassing to say, but you know, that is what it is. But I will find the answer to you right now as I'm paging through one of my favorite books at the moment. And it has a mass of information in it. I'll be able to tell you exactly the answer to your question. And the exact words are, calves begin to graze at 1 month and are weaned between 6 and 9 months. So Gilly in Wisconsin, there's the answer to your question. They graze at 1 month and are weaned between 6 and 9 months, which would take these little ones to the end of summer. So if they are weaned in 6 months' time, although there'll be a lot of grass around still, the grass will start to lose its condition. And that means that for the first year or so of these little baby impalas' lives, they are going to be fed a mixture of milk and grass, and in the best time of the year. So you can imagine that these little ones are going to be in top peak condition when they go into the next dry spell. And just once more, just nails another nail into the lid of how successful these impala are actually. There we go. There's some grooming. You can see mom and baby grooming one another. It's called social grooming or allo grooming, and it is practiced amongst many males, or mammals I should say, not even many males. Practiced amongst many mammals. We even do it to our own offspring. It's a communal licking there, or social licking, and it's just it's a reaffirmation of a social bond. It's got nothing so much to do with I'm cleaning you as it's got something to do with I'm in proximity to you. I lick you, you lick me. It's just a form of touching, I suppose. I quite like seeing it. And then Claire in New York has asked me a question, once again, embarrassingly enough, that I don't know the immediate answer to. The coloration on the impala there's a term for it, and perhaps you could help us out there, or the viewers could help us out there. It'll have something to do with the shading on the impala. That light color on the bottom and the dark color on the top. I'll put it out there. As I've said it to you, I've actually remembered the term for it. But it's a relatively easy thing to find out there, and if you want, you can send the answers through on Twitter using the hashtag Safari Live, or you could send the answer through to an email, or on an email, using questions@WildEarth.tv, and I'll be sure to mention those of you who got it right, as many as I can remember at least anyway. Have a look at how the fur is standing up on the body there. The temperature has dropped a little bit, and in response to the temperature drop, this impala has erected the fur on her body. What that does is it slows the air currents down, moving over the body, and gives body heat the chance to heat up the air trapped in the fur. Air is an incredibly poor conductor of heat, and while the air is trapped in the fur and heated up by the warmth of her body, it'll keep her a little bit warmer than if her fur was flat. And that is why they have erected that fur, and also where they get their Afrikaans name of redbuck. If I directly translate the Afrikaans name for this animal into English for you, it is the redbuck, and it's because their underlayer of fur has that red tinge to it. You can see that on that little baby nursing from its mom there. That is very cool. Bumping the udder to get the milk to flow. Awesome. That is so cute. Mom just casually standing by, as moms do, tolerating the babies suckling from them. There we go. Had a mouthful, and now looking and copying what mom's doing by looking around and remaining vigilant. Andrew, if you don't mind, go a bit left there and show one of these right, a bit right, and show one of these nursery herds of babies just to the right hand side of the road. Andrew will be able to go in over there, and inside that bush is one of these very camouflaged nursery herds like we were talking about just now. I'm so glad that we actually got to see you, to show you. Those babies have moved into that thicket because the air is slightly calmer inside that thicket, and will keep them a bit warmer. But see if you can count how many babies are in there. You'd be surprised. It's at least double what you think it is. Have a look at this little one that's probably going to try and give itself a bit of a scratch, I think. Moving in under the tree, licking off the water on the... No, not giving itself a scratch. Mom's done enough of that already. That one's still very young. You can almost see the ones that are younger than the others. They got this very skinny look about themselves. Fully capable, even at this young age, to outrun me, to be quite honest. Very agile. There's one in the back that just came into view, bounding across the grass. What a peaceful morning out here. So Brooklyn, who's only 10 years old, is asked, would impala mommies protect their babies from danger? Brooklyn, yes, I think that the answer needs to be yes. Have I ever seen impala standing against a lion or a leopard? No, unfortunately I haven't. I think that their anti-predator behavior, if I were to put a term to it, would be to run away and jump as high as they can over bushes and trees, and using that behavior to show their babies the way to go. Now they've seen something here, I don't know what it is. Excuse me for getting a bit distracted there while I was answering your question, Brooklyn, but they've all of a sudden all pricked up their ears and are looking in exactly the same direction. And that to me immediately signifies that something is coming on. Now, they're not making an alarm call. They've definitely become a little bit more alert. It could be anything. It could be a zebra coming up. Now they're moving away. That's interesting. I wonder what it is. I can't see anything that's come up behind it. But you can see that they've all of a sudden all started to move. And there all the babies are shooting off down there. They're not making an alarm call. So as Hannah's just asked at the moment in Los Angeles, what do impala do? Do they make a bark? Do they make a visual cue? Now, as their action is just signified, they don't always make an alarm bark when something has alerted them to some dangers. They sometimes just move off quite quietly, like they've done at the moment, almost like smoke. In some books that I've read, they've been likened to smoke through the bush, not making a sound at all. In actual fact, just getting out of the way. And we were surrounded by 70 or 80 impala. We are now surrounded by none. But when they do see a predator, Hannah, they make a very loud bark, a snorting bark type noise. And for things like leopard and lion on open areas like this, I've even seen them walk towards the predator, making that alarm call. And so definitely they do both is the answer to my question. I think the point I was trying to make is that sometimes they just very silently melt into the bush around us, and at other times they make a very loud bark and actually walk towards the predator. So in this particular case, I'm actually not sure what they've seen. I still can't see anything, so it may have been a noise that they heard in the distance that caused them to move off. Could have been something small like a mongoose, or even a big bird of prey would have caused them to move off like that. And let's see. It looks like they're all going down to the thicker area. It's light enough now at the moment for them to actually start moving into the thick bush on the fringes of quarantine. And if I have a look around me, it looks like they are doing absolutely that. Just gonna have a look over here. We've got some more impala in front of us, and then we've got some impala crossing the road. And they're absolutely starting to move down the hill now and away from us. Starting to group together. You see the babies are moving with their moms and in groups. I'm not seeing any particular pattern emerging here of all the babies being together. exclusively together or exclusively with their parents. It seems to be a mixture of babies with moms and babies with peers. We've got the zebra that I've decided to join up with these impala in front of us, and that's where I'm heading at the moment. And you'll see as we start to get to the fringe of these impala herds that we'll actually start seeing more male impala. And the male impala, especially the immature male impalas, they tend to stick to the periphery of the herds, and that's where the dominant male will keep them. We've got an eagle in the tree here that I've spied as well. There's a marula that blew over on our right hand side. On the top of it looks to be a juvenile Batelier eagle. Quite wet, it's difficult to see, but we'll stop now and we'll have an ID of it ready for you in a second or two. So immediately, just from what they call the jizz of the bird, the general impression of size and shape. Oh, there you got a male chasing his impala around. You're such a bully. So there you were seeing some discipline being handed out. I wasn't sure whether it's discipline or it's just a male busy doing what males do, and they quite often take out their, I don't quite know what they do, but they try and assert their dominance over the females in their group. And they do so at almost every opportunity that they can get. They're quite bullying in that respect, actually. And I think what's happening here is we're getting two herds of impala merging, and that what you've just seen there is a male impala just trying to keep his female with him, or females with him. Back to this bird again. I've taken out my binoculars. And I'm trying to identify this raptor that we have at the top of the tree. Now, what's immediately apparent is that white sear across the nose is not yellow, and that tells me that this bird is not a tawny eagle or a steppe eagle. It also doesn't have yellow eyes, which tells me that it's not a brown snake eagle. And so, even though I can't see its tail and feet, I would have to say that if I were writing an exam and this was a question that I'd have to answer right now, I would say that this is a immature Batelier eagle. So we're sitting over here with an immature Batelier eagle, and I'm drawing my conclusion from the fact that we've got an eagle without a noticeable yellow eye and without a noticeable yellow beak, pretty drab in color, and I'm going to say immature Batelier eagle is my answer right now. How I would confirm it is by having a look at its feet, and if the feet were featherless, then it would be an absolute confirmation that this would be a juvenile Batelier eagle. But since that branch is covering its feet, I can't give you that answer just yet. And the reason why this youngster is sitting in the tree, it's because Batelier eagles fly using thermals and heat currents, and on a day like today where it's so cold still, there are no heat currents at the moment for this Batelier to use. There's enough wind for it to fly around, but there's not enough thermals to keep it aloft. And so rather than waste energy, it's going to wait for the day to warm up a little bit more, I'm sure. And Scott's at the hyena den, and I'm sure he's very excited to show you what's going on over there. See you in a bit.
So, I'm not too sure what's going on here. We're at a hyena den. We've just arrived, and what looked to be the mother of a small cub made her way up to that area of the mound, and inside that little hole over there is usually where her cub stays. Very small cub, and she was kind of sniffing around the hole, and then I heard another hyena letting off quite a strange squeal. And then the mother headed off. And I haven't heard that funny squealing noise again. And sadly, it's tricky in this area because it's incredibly thick, so to follow the hyena will be very, very difficult. But some interesting stuff nonetheless. And you've also seen some hyena with Steph. So the hyenas are on the move. I'm just going to see if driving around onto the other side of the termite mound might help us get another view. Morning, Randall. Interesting question. And Randall would like to know if hyena are scared of black mambas. And I think yes, in general, hyena as a species will really be scared of most snakes and will be unlikely to try and attack them. But whether they can distinguish between a black mamba and a brown house snake, I find it highly unlikely. So, not too sure, Randall. And something also very important to remember is that we cannot ever generalize a whole species. It's like asking, are humans scared of black mambas? And some may be and others may not be. So humans from certain parts of the world will react differently to snakes than others, or various different things. Oh, she's coming right up to us. And not only that, but also animals in different parts of Africa. The same species will act differently in different areas. So that's something I guess important to remember, Randall, but I think yes, definitely a lot of the animals out here will steer clear of the snakes. And whether they can distinguish between black mambas and, like I say, a brown house snake, which is non-venomous, I'm not convinced, but interesting stuff nonetheless. Let's take a look here. The hyena is using one of its most important organs to try and work out what's happened here. And I've just heard Taxon saying he's found some tracks on a road nearby, and there could well have been some other predators in the area. So let me get a hold of Taxon, one of the Djuma guides, and try and work out what's happened. Tax, didn't copy what Mkonzo you have? Okay, copy, thanks. This is really interesting. There's been 3 hyena found not too far from here. Got quite a lot of blood on them. And the fact that we did hear... I can hear the squealing again. All right. And you should be able to hear it very faintly. And it's the same direction the female's heading in now. What is going on here? Well, a lot of the sagas that unfold here sadly unfold after dark when we are all tucked in bed. And this is going to be an interesting one to try and piece together. I've just seen another hyena though, so let's try and get into a good spot, which I think will be just up ahead here. Yay! This is looking good. And there's at least one sub-adult hyena here that we can see poking its head out. And what we'll hopefully see next is a tiny little cub coming out. There's a much, much smaller cub. Oh, I think I can see its head. No. It was the mother's head. awesome. Look at how much more furry the younger hyena is on the left compared to the older hyena on the right, with their two bottoms perfectly positioned for a comparison. And that's not untypical of hyena anatomy. They like to become more streamlined as they become older, more aerodynamic rather, and they tend to become quite short-haired. But the youngster, you can see, is very, very furry. The spots also tend to be darker when they're younger and tend to fade into a kind of browny grey as the hyena will become older. But like most things, and like I was just mentioning with Randall, we cannot generalize wholeheartedly or completely for a whole species, because individuals will always have slightly different traits to one another. Now, the fact that this adult's looking so deeply down this hole like this makes me wonder where her little cub could be. Let's hope that it's still okay and that nothing's happened to it. They won't have too many threats within the cavities in this termite mound. Other hyena will probably be one of the biggest concerns, as well as probably pythons, interestingly enough. Very, very large snakes. They can go up to 6 meters in length and are capable of swallowing not only little hyena cubs, but prey as big as an adult male impala. Now, the mother that we can see now on screen is now looking down the burrow where the young cub typically hides out. So let's hope it comes out of there. I'm just going to stay here for now, though. And see if the cub doesn't come out, or I've got a feeling the adult could come back onto this side, and we can't see the side of the mound from the other side, so it's a bit of a gamble for now. Let's see if she doesn't vocalize now. This is really interesting, and the fact that the other hyena den off Philemon's cut line, which is not at all far away from here, has also got 2 small hyena cubs, means that there could be some interesting kind of shifts within not only the hierarchy but the actual whole clan structure within this area. It's unlikely that 2 separate clans or entirely separate clans would have den sites so close to one another. So there could have been some kind of a fragmenting of clans where they tolerate one another within the general area. Well, who knows, maybe there's been the unthinkable and one of the neighboring hyena clans has killed this cub. Who knows? Sounds like the young cub's whining again. I just heard a little whimper. I'm not sure if it was from, it must have been from this other youngster, this sub-adult. Morning to Daryl in Illinois, and Daryl's interested to know if hyena and jackal coexist in Africa, and yes, they certainly do. In some parts of Africa, they will be a lot more common and in higher numbers than here. But we do get jackal in the Sabi Sands, not huge amounts of them, kind of less than almost just about anywhere I've worked. We don't have high jackal numbers at all. But throughout most of Africa, you will get hyena and both the black-backed jackal as well as the side-striped jackal living alongside one another. A jackal's a much smaller animal than a hyena, and it's never going to try and outcompete a hyena. Thankfully, though, for the jackals, they're very quick and can run away from any hyena if they do get into trouble. But just like the hyena, they an animal that can hunt for themselves but will prefer to scavenge when possible. So jackals and hyenas are both notorious for finishing off old carcasses killed by other animals or animals that may have died of natural causes, but they can both hunt. And if need be, and if we removed all the lion, the leopard and the cheetah from this area, there would become super clans of hyena that would hunt down prey as big as Cape buffalo. At the moment they don't need to, so it doesn't make point in going through all that effort. So clever animals, the hyenas. And morning. Thanks for coming up to us after we just complimented you on your ability to hunt when need be. Now, where is your baby? She looks like a concerned mother to me. She is very focused. She's got her head down to the ground. And she is trying to work out where her cub has gone. That cub would definitely have come out now. Had it have been here, it would have been wanting a drink of its mother's precious milk. But I fear that, and I wouldn't just say this if I wasn't feeling confident about my decision, but I do fear that this cub may be gone. It's highly, highly unlikely that this mother would have gone to both entrances into the den site here. I'm not sure if they're interconnected, but there's one little hole that's behind my head over there, and then the other one that you saw it poke her head into earlier. And she's examined both of them very closely with no sign of that younger cub. And no, but I can hear the crying is actually coming from inside the den. So I think the cub is in there, and I was wrong. Sadly, the young cub has picked up a little piece of litter, and hyena are notorious for chewing on just about anything they can, so obviously that's the last thing we want to see, but that's what's going on there. What I might try to do is just try and, hey, if it drops it, I may try and just scoot it into and take it with. No. There you go. And I'm just going to jump out and grab it quickly, even though we are very close. I cannot bear the sight of that litter in such a pristine area, and the effect of us jumping out quickly removing this piece of litter will not be too bad. Hyena slobber, my favorite. Okay, well, we've got the piece of litter, and now we can return to a better distance and hopefully continue to watch these hyenas. It may take a while for them to come out. Well, good news, because I was hugely concerned that the hyena mother was looking for its cub, but that squealing was definitely coming from within the burrow. Not too sure why the young cub doesn't want to come out. What we can maybe do now is head off and then come back a little bit later once things have calmed down here. Interesting how you spoiled over the last year with some really interesting sights. A lot of them, we have conclusions as to why exactly they have been behaving. Some interesting behavior. There's a lot that's still unknown about hyena and their hierarchies and their social complexities. And even though there are many varied opinions as to what's what, I'm not a firm believer that people know exactly what's going on, and for a number of reasons. The main one being is that by studying a hyena population in Kenya, or here in the Sabi Sands, or anywhere really, it doesn't mean that you can apply that same research that you achieve from any area throughout the entire sub-Saharan Africa where you find hyena and most African animals. So animals will act differently in different parts of Africa. There's no two ways about it. Depending on the climate, the vegetation, the competition they're up against. Mario, who is age 7, and Lisa, I'm not sure of your age, but the two of you have come up with a very, very good theory, and one that I didn't think of, and that is the joy of being on a safari with so many people, is that we're bound to get somebody who's thinking clearly, and I think Mario and Lisa are those two this morning, as probably a lot more of you may have also had the same thoughts as them, and their thought is, and their theory is that young hyena cub not stuck down in the burrow? And as soon as you said that, I thought, well, it could very well be. So it's hard to imagine what it would be stuck in, obviously, because we've got no idea what's happening down there. Maybe some roots. Yeah, I'm guessing roots would be the main thing that it could have maybe got jammed in, got wedged in there. But let's hope that that's not the case. But there certainly is a chance that something like that has happened. Who knows, maybe there's already a python down in there, deep in the burrow. Now, it's unlikely, because then the other young cub wouldn't run down there. So I don't think there is anything else down there that would be of a concern or a threat to the other hyena cub. Otherwise, you'd probably find, like I said, it wouldn't run down there. But something is not quite right, and we'll have to keep a close eye on that. But thanks for sending through your very good opinions on what you think may be happening. Sorry, I'm just going to ask Tex and Aubrey what's going on quickly, because I can hear some chatter on the radio. Hey Tex, are they still there? Okay, copy. I'm going to head into it here and come and have a look around. Thank you. So, we just had a question through from Siberia, Zumi, one of the people who control the 24-hour-a-day live waterhole camera. And they would like to know, what is the likelihood of one of the mongooses that we get in this area dispatching a hyena cub? And I would say highly unlikely. The white-tailed mongoose, the biggest of the mongooses here, would be the most likely candidates, and even that, it doesn't focus on large prey, and a hyena cub would be considered large prey for a white-tailed mongoose. So I don't think that, and I am confident enough about it that I doubt that ever has a mongoose killed a hyena. You get these strange scenarios where I think, well, it's possible that a leopard, for example, may have caught a young elephant calf. Even though it's unlikely, it probably has happened once somewhere on the continent of Africa, but a mongoose eating a hyena cub, I feel highly unlikely to happen. So, we are now heading off in search of some hyena. It sounds to me like they may have been having some kind of a fight. But let's just go over there and find out for ourselves and have our own opinions as to what is going on. Kind of makes sense. Across the step for an update while we try and race across into the area of these hyena.
Now, welcome back to us. And as you can see, I've put this raincoat on at the moment. I mistakenly looked at my jacket this morning and still a bit fuzzy and didn't take it with me on drive, and so I'm a bit freezing. And myself and Andrew have decided to come down this little dirt track over here because we found a place where elephants had spent the night last night. Lots of tracks on the ground, lots of broken trees and bushes around, much dung, and I got a funny feeling these elephants are still in the vicinity, and we decided that we'd come down here to see where they are. And part of what we're doing is finding out where their tracks have gone. Now, it looked like their tracks had headed south from that position, and it's going east-west. So I'm hoping to bisect the tracks of those ellies, and if I don't bisect the tracks of these ellies, it means that they're still in the block off on our right hand side, this side here. And on a cold day like this, they can be quite animated because they're not all just, they'll probably be eating, to be quite honest with you. The drought that we're facing at the moment has meant that not as much grass has grown for this time of the year, and where elephants should be eating about 80% of their diet grass at the moment, they're not. They're just busy feeding on leaves and twigs and sticks still, which is a bit of a problem. From an environmental point of view, it always looks worse than what it is, and we think that it's much worse than what it is, because we're a short-lived species, even though we live one of the longest lifespans on the planet. Hi, Mission in Dallas. It's been a long time since I've answered one of the questions from you, but it's good that I'm hearing you in my ear again. And you've asked what are my favorite animals on drive and what do I enjoy looking at while I'm on drive. I must say probably hyena would be my animal point of view, but my interests lie in insects at the moment. Really finding insects and insect ecology at the moment quite fascinating, and I've been blessed with being able to be on the walks with the guys over the last couple of months, and so I've been able to indulge myself in the relative abundance of insects since the rain started here, and probably had our first rainstorm in about September, mid-September, where we had a big downpour. But out of the bigger mammals, definitely hyena, and the reason for that is that they are animated, and there in the distance you'll see that bird that we were looking at. That is the bird that was sitting now on the sticks above the impala. And to be honest, all that it's done is it's confused me a little bit more as to which bird it actually is. The reason for that is that it had quite a fan-like tail. The tail was quite fan, and definitely not the short tail like we've seen or we're used to seeing on battaliers when they are busy flying. But that doesn't mean too much. A battalier does have a tail. It just keeps it very tucked in when it's flying. And without thermals today, the tail would come out, especially when taking off. Now, I've come back here. I want to show you where these elephants were sleeping last night. You can see in front of us, you'll see where my track went through that slightly disturbed soil over here. That's where the elephants started, where their group started last night. And I'm actually going to take you through where they were sleeping. It was quite cold last night, and so the elephant slept in a group here. And you can see where they've disturbed the soil. I'll stop here and I'll show you. This branch was pulled down by them, one of them that were feeding last night. Have a look at how they've kicked the soil up. Now that's all just from them. That is my track coming through. This is where they've been kicking up the sand in this mitre drain and throwing it all over the place. You probably find that while some of the group members were sleeping, others were just standing by their sides, adding their warmth to the group, and then throwing sand around. And we're quickly going to go through to Scott. It seems like the hyena have brought back a carcass to the den. We'll catch up with you in a little while.
So we've just arrived, and there's not one, not two, not three, not four, not five, but 6 hyena here. I can see 2 adults and 3 sub-adults so far. The sub-adults all look like quite a similar age. I'm just not sure. It's actually 3 and 3, so it's 3 adults, 3 sub-adults. And I don't recognize any of them at first glance. I've just got my binoculars out now, trying to check out their ears for any distinctive notches or holes, or their bodies for any scars. But hard to see. And it apparently sounds like that this female here could be the mother from the Philemon's cutline den, so the other den that we were not at this morning. And that is possible. I've seen a few little notches in her ears, but I haven't been to that den yet. And in this wet conditions, the hyenas are looking quite kind of dark. So it looks slightly different to normal. I'm just going to reposition the vehicle ever so slightly. And they're evidently sniffing around and chewing on some bones. It doesn't look to be like a fresh kill, but the one individual has just picked up a bone and moved off, the one furthest right in the screen. It's a large bone. It doesn't appear fresh to me, but there does seem to be a reddish tinge on her coat around her neck. So maybe they did get lucky and catch something, but to me that bone looks to be quite old. Maybe I'm wrong. What has happened with this clan of hyenas? There's a lot more bones through there that I'm now seeing. Again, none of which look very fresh. The bellies look quite full-bellied though, so they have had a meal, some of these hyena. Well, thanks very much to Alyssa, who has confirmed that the one hyena, I think with a tear in her left ear, is the mother of 2 cubs at the Philemon's cutline den. And the individual now that we're looking at is the mother of 1, and she's got a big scar down her left flank, I'm told. I haven't seen it yet this morning, but I think it is this one that VM's got in shot now. Now, interestingly, like I said, there's 6 hyenas in this area. There were apparently there was at least 1 not too far from here. I'm not sure why it wasn't involved in the immediate ongoings here. They've all got bones, it looks like. So maybe there was a kill, Major, and who knows, maybe this clan actually made the kill that they're now finishing off, but the bellies don't seem full enough. Their faces seem bloodied. I can't work it out. Maybe there was a fight between hyena, or maybe they did get the scraps of a small kill and are now just chewing on bones that were in the general area. But I think it's definitely worth hanging around here. They keep looking in the same direction as to where this other hyena was. Or at least the adults are. The youngsters are too busy chewing on the bones, as you can see. But one or two of the adults keep lifting up their heads and looking to the north. And you can see now it's happening again. Sadly, the one adult's head's a bit blocked by that bent acacia tree. But certainly keeping tabs on kind of northern areas. And it's just the one mother who's been the most focused, the one that we're looking at now. She's the most full-bellied out of all of these hyena. And maybe another thing to think about is that the moist conditions that we've been experiencing over the last 12 hours has maybe made these bones a bit more of an appetizing meal, slightly softer. Maybe the moisture is bringing out a bit more of the flavor. I think I've heard a bit of audio from the adults on the right there, VM. Let's see if she doesn't open up and give us a proper song. Please call for us. It's one of my, and they often bend their heads down like that when they call, but she was just doing it to pick up the bone. She got me so excited. They hold their heads facing down to the ground and onto this very strange swaying, almost, as they let out their and I was hoping she was going to do it there. It's an incredibly wonderful noise, and to hear it from up close is very special. And it's something that I haven't been able to pull off just yet with you guys. A good close hyena vocalization. We've been lucky with leopard and lion, but not yet with the hyenas. I love the way the youngsters are so clean and fluffy and more innocent looking than their parents, who have definitely got a bit more of a sinister or scary appeal when they become older. But they aren't nearly as horrible as they have been portrayed in many different films and many different theories about these animals, which has sadly caused them to be subconsciously disliked by most people on the planet, until you've seen young sabadults like this or the tiny cute cubs. People often find it hard to find a space for hyena in their heart, but they are incredibly important animals. Just not the best looking, I guess, when they get older and a bit more scary. Well, it looks like this hyena cub could be licking off some of the blood on this adult's neck. But again, I just can't be sure as to what's gone down here. These bones are old. I'm not sure if any of you guys think otherwise, but looking through my binoculars, this doesn't look like a fresh kill to me. I think what could have happened is, like I said, they may have had a snack on something fresh, but we're just in this area where the moistened bones have given them something literally just to chew on. But maybe I'm wrong, and it'd be great to hear what you guys think. I mean, this is what a hyena do very, very well. They are the professionals at cleaning up carcasses and making sure nothing goes to waste. from this carcass are far too large to have been a leopard kill. Mr. Copper mentioned that there's a chance that that could be the case. Not likely. They're looking at a helicopter flying past, which you can probably hear. Must be wondering, what on earth is that? So Chris Rogue, unfortunately, I do not think they would have stolen this specific kill from a leopard, but yes, they certainly could have stolen a smaller kill from a leopard, got all worked up, got the taste of meat in their mouth, and then just started chewing on these bones, which I'm almost 99% sure are the remains of a lion kill. And the fact that there's no sign of any lions here makes it unlikely that lions made a kill here last night, have moved off, and now the hyenas are feeding on it. Oh, they all seem to be now moving off, at least one of them just started running off to the west. I wonder what's heard. I wonder what's going on there. Let's go, because now the rest are following. Quite thick here, so I want to make sure we don't miss anything. As I off-road, I know which trees we can drive over and which we can't, which will handle the vehicle. So, don't worry. I just sometimes don't know which route is the best, which was an example of what just happened there. And there again. And now the hyenas are leaving us behind. So we will go another route. And while we try and get out of this mess, we're going to send you across to Steph so that you don't spill your coffees everywhere. And we'll let you know as soon as we're back on these hyenas. They are moving off there. I've still got a view of one or two of them. Although, yeah, we'll see you later.
Well, not quite the elephant that we were looking for and that we were busy showing you the tracks of, but we found some sleeping buffalo for you. And definitely not as active as I hear your hyena sighting is going. Although there are two buffalo here that are busy wrestling with one another, and it gives us a nice chance to witness how male buffalo interact. Usually it's too hot this time of the year and we don't see this type of interaction. But these are two bulls. You have a look at that one bull going down on his knees basically. And they are pressing their bosses together, using those massive neck muscles that they have to wrestle. And what they're trying to do is hook one another under the armpit with those horns. And there we go. A little bit of male on male action, for lack of a better word, although that's not really what I wanted to say. It's a dominance behavior. Alrighty, so we'll come back in a sec. Scott's refound those hyena. Obviously much more exciting. We'll catch up with you in a bit. See you later.
Okay, well, we've caught up with the hyena again. From the den where we were earlier is the one that's closest in front of us. The other three are all up ahead of it with one sub-adult. So two sub-adults stayed behind us. One is up ahead, and now four adult hyena. They seem quite worked up about something, and I don't know what has caught their attention, but they are making their way towards where I'm told another hyena was. You can see some action unfolding up in the road ahead of us. It's going to try and get us quickly. A few hyena all sniffing about. Just going to stop here to give you a quick glimpse of them running up. So this is the female that I think we saw earlier at the den. She's flawless. Other than a few tiny scratches on her bottom, her ears are in perfect condition. And she, interestingly, doesn't look very involved in whatever's going on here. The other three are all getting quite worked up, holding their tails up. There's some vocalizations happening now. Come on, quickly, guys. We want to see what your friends are up to. Please, hurry up. I can hear some noises up ahead, and I'm so desperate to get you there. There they go. They're having a massive fight. Massive fights happening here. This is going to be very hard to watch, but we are going to stay here. So if you cannot keep watching, you're going to just simply have to turn off the TV. This is very, very serious. And hyenas do fight fiercely amongst different clans, and sometimes even within their own clan. And it's often the females that will compete most ferociously for the hierarchy of queen. And it looks like right now one individual hyena is in serious trouble. Its one ear has just about been ripped off. And like I said, this isn't easy to... Position the vehicle ever so slightly. Now I can see, oh sorry everyone, I know this is incredibly difficult, just trying to gather myself here. This poor hyena is in such a terrible state. It was calling out there, and I know we were hoping to show you hyena audio, but not in such a desperate affair like this, with the one calling out, hoping that possibly the rest of its clan will come out and rescue it. Its back left foot is severely wounded, and a lot of you may be wondering why it's not running off, and I think it's because it is in such bad shape that it simply cannot move. There's 3 young sub-adults have all followed into this sighting, and there are now 4 adults. So total of, oh, and another one's just arrived. This one has just arrived fresh onto the scene. I'm not sure which one it is. Oh, it's such tricky business. We don't know what's going on here with all these hyena. So now it's 5 adults, 3 sub-adults, and 1 very badly wounded hyena, I'm guessing from a different clan. I just want to try and reposition the vehicle to give you a better view. It's hard to show you all the hyena from where we are here. And these hyenas certainly, very certainly knew about... Oh, there's a bit of action unfolding there. Hyena chasing off that one that's just arrived, or maybe they're just greeting one another and being a little bit cautious. I'll be able to tell that there's something going on here, and every hyena that approaches is going to be quite cautious of what's going on. But it looks to me like this individual could be from the same clan as the one that has been delivering a beating to the one hyena that's looking in terrible shape. But this individual certainly has... coming straight towards this other hyena. Probably just to work out what's going on. Now, I wonder if they're not from the same clan. No. Now, adrenaline rush has just brought up a good point. Could it be females fighting over hierarchy? And it certainly could. It could be one queen trying to overthrow another. But to me, I think this is an inter-clan dispute, and I think there's one hyena that got caught trespassing and is now bearing the brunt of being caught. Now again, I could be wrong. There are so many variables as to what could be going on here, and I simply don't know what the answer is. So keep sending through your thoughts and opinions. Thank you very much for that adrenaline rush, for sending through your thoughts, and saying hello to Taxon, who you may have seen his vehicle in the sighting as well. So they've come in, issued some discipline to the one hyena who, if they wanted to, they could easily kill. I mean, that hyena doesn't stand a chance on its own. It can't even move. And it was left there all alone with the opportunity to limp off after having already been attacked. I'm certain that that hyena couldn't have been ripped off that quickly. The hyena's been sustained throughout the evening possibly, and the clan that we've been seeing chewing on the bones, coming and going. And I thought that a pack of wild dogs were showing a hyena a bad time the other day. Little did I know